Hi, I'm Stephen Hubbard. As part of my New Year's resolution for 2021, I really want to get more into game development. Because of the nature of indie gaming and trying to draw traffic towards a future game one day, I've made it a goal to essentially release one video a week of kind of my game dev journey. And this is week number 1. It's a very simple game that I created in the last 5 or 6 days is all, where you can essentially control your camera, move around, control these lemmings with color coordinated waypoints, and get them to their appropriate goal. Essentially, you can spawn lemmings by clicking the pad, and they'll move towards that appropriate goal. As soon as there's enough lemmings, they get to the end. And that's really about it. There's some basic obstacles that you have to navigate around, and I think there's only 5 total levels. It's got its fair share of glitches and things like that, but overall I'm pretty happy with what I was able to accomplish in what had to have been something like 25 to 30 hours of work. I'm gonna play through this level real quick to kind of get through it. And this is the last level. You got to get, I think, like 2 of each lemmings to the end goal, and that's it. But I wanted to give you a quick overview before we hopped into exactly what the devlog was going to be talking about, but essentially that's it. So let's hop in. Okay, here we go. I don't want to spend a ton of time editing this as I go, so I've kind of put together the 4 to 5 days worth of work in videos, sped it up, just so I could talk about the process a little bit as I went. This first devlog video for my channel is going to be largely just for my own learning experience. I haven't used Adobe Premiere Pro in quite a few years, and so it's going to take me a while to kind of remember how to do all of those things. But I wanted to show the process of kind of how this game was created over, a 3 to 5 minute sped up video. I'm creating some basic UI for the lemmings. I'm using entirely free assets from the Unity Asset Store and Open Game Art, I think, for a couple different things, which is probably largely what I'll do for the next few months. The number one goal I have right now is for the first 4 weeks, including this one's, I'm going to create a total of 1 game per week, make a devlog video on it per week, release it on itch.io if you want to play it. I'll make sure to put the link in the description below, and you can check it out and be able to play it directly on your browser. But this is essentially where I was at for day 1. I'm using a couple of things that I learned from GameDev.tv, the Udemy courses that I'm going through right now, to drag and drop essentially some building prefabs onto the floor mask that is created, and creating some basic UI just for level management, and making sure everything works along the way. Here I am browsing the Unity Asset Store once again to try to just find some basic UI that I can use to just kind of make things look not absolutely terrible. The focus of this first one was largely just to kind of get my feet wet and making a game from start to finish, see what I was really capable of in 1 week worth of work, just in the afternoons and whenever I have some time on the weekends and things like that. I'm not sure exactly how I want to talk about the code, and maybe I'll do that a little bit more in later videos. This first one, I don't want to spend a ton of time slowing down and speeding things up and kind of talking about the logic of the code exactly. If you have any questions, happy to answer it. But I think this game has some potential as far as a minimum viable product prototype type thing, which is really the goal of making 1 game per week for the first 4 weeks. After that, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm leaning towards doing something like 1 game per month for then the following 3 months or something like that, just so that way I can have 4 games that I worked on for 1 week and then like 3 or 4 games that I worked on for 1 month at a time, just kind of grow my learning and kind of build bigger projects as we go. And then after maybe I do a few of those, then actually pick like a game that I can maybe work on for 3 months or something like that. Like every game dev, I have, infinite ideas, but obviously they're hard to implement. And before I bite off something bigger than I can chew, I figured that was kind of a good way to essentially ramp up my learning. This is, obviously I'm creating some obstacles. creating some basic platforms and some logic. One of the things I wanted to do in the top left was create this lemming UI so that you could see how many different colored lemmings were left to spawn by each spawn pad. You can see I implemented a highlight feature on the spawn pad as well using a shader that I downloaded from the Unity Asset Store. The logic for the lemming spawning was probably the silliest thing that I did, as far as just creating like a brute force way to get the lemmings to spawn. After fixing some rigid body colliders that we saw with that platform, we're just about done. I think after that I gave it a build, made sure everything was correctly running, uploaded it to itch.io, and that was about it. If you'd like to play the game, I'm going to go ahead and leave the link in the description below, where you'll be able to play it directly through your browser. And thanks for checking this video out.